Yeah, we're live. 70 now 7:03. When I posted it, it was only 7:02. Lots of cool stuff to talk about tonight. The video that I'm working on right now that I was going to post today, but I had a lot of stuff that I was running around doing today. I have a video that I'm working on comparing the Brian Tooley Racing Truck Norris cam to the Sloppy Stage 2 cam with a blower. So is the truck cam also a blower cam? And is the Sloppy Stage 2 cam also a blower cam? And then how do they compare to each other? So I have that coming up. Also, I wanted to cover, I was going through some paperwork that I have, and you can see, so let's see if you can read that. I can get the angle just right. Yep. Design of intake manifolds for supercharged internal combustion engine. I have a bunch of SAE papers that I was going through. Helmholtz tuned induction systems for turbocharged diesel engines. Because I'm an induction guy. That's what fascinates me. Optimal design of the intake system for SICE. Intake design for maximum performance. So these are all papers that I ordered from the Society of Automotive Engineers. Design of intake manifolds for supercharged internal combustion engines with intercooling. So you can see there's a theme here. And so this is really good information. It's fairly technical. But the thing that's nice about it and also about the book that I'm going to go over is that what I had to do, especially with the book, not so much with the papers were fairly well written and self-explanatory and understandable even for somebody at my level. It's good information, and you read it over, and if you don't get it the first time, you read it again, and then because what happens is when you read it once, you're a little bit farther than before you read it, and then when you read it again, you start from there, and then you learn a little bit more, and then and pretty soon you just keep raising the bar, raising the bar, raising the bar. Pretty soon you know a lot more than you did, even if you don't know everything that's there. Because let's face it, if the guys are engineers, they understand things not just at a different level, but a different way than you do. So that I do also. But there's good information, and there's a lot of papers written on induction theory, not just for internal combustion engines, but every type of engine. I mean, diesel engines and gas, direct injected, turbocharged, supercharged, all kinds of them. And they break it down fairly well. There's even two-stroke stuff because when they do the SAE competition, a lot of times they use two-stroke stuff. So there's a lot of really, really cool information. And a lot of times it's stuff that you can be applied to. I apply it all the time to when I'm putting, new intake manifold designs and testing them. Ultimately, I think the best way to do it is to test them. But having the math that is involved with designing them also helps, send you off on the right direction, which is really good, which is one of the books that I want to talk about is this one. If you guys are in the market and want to find out how engines work in detail, including induction theory, exhaust, all kinds of stuff, this is a book I highly recommend. Let's see. There we go. Advanced Engine Technology by Heinz Hessler. So you can see it's thick and meaty. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Particularly, I like that you can see there. There's even diagrams and drawings and all kinds of cool stuff. But there's some really good information. Roots, rotating lobe superchargers. They show you the naturally aspirated power or the boost pressure. Like I like to see, and the horsepower torque, both naturally aspirated and they show you different kinds, vane type superchargers, typical performances. Let's see what else. Semi-articulating sliding vane superchargers, cycle of events and pressures, sliding vane, effective pressure ratio. I mean, there's V 6-cylinder engine exhaust manifold arrangement, V8 engine arrangement, inline 6-cylinder exhaust. I see this. They have there's lots of really good data and flow charts and stuff. So it's something I highly recommend. And this is really where long ago where I got the information that I use you'll find the 3 forms of charge filling associated with an intake design. And if you can understand all 3 of those, you will be miles ahead of, in fact, most of the people that actually design manifolds for a living. Because I've talked to a number of people that have designed intake manifolds, that sell intake manifolds, that are currently designing them, and they have no idea what those 3 are, or if they did know about them. Everybody throws out when they throw out Helmholtz resonance for some reason. I think because they've heard that and it's been thrown around a lot. And of the 3 forms of charge filling, that's the least effective of any of them. but that seems to get thrown out the most. So those are covered in detail, including how to measure and calculate them. And if you can get through, like I just got through understanding what they do, how they work, how they function, not even the math portion of it. That's actually a little advanced for me. I can't. I don't think I could do the formulas. It would take me a while. And honestly, like I said, even if I could do the formulas are primarily for a single cylinder motor, starting with a piston in a specific position, and there's an awful lot that goes into it. So, like I said, for me, it's much easier for me to test it and change it, and then test it and change it and test it and change it. That's why I make adjustable manifolds. And that seems to work out very well. But all of this gave me what I needed to know. This particular book gave me what I needed to know to understand how to make things better. And it covers exhaust and camshafts and cylinder heads and supercharging and turbocharging and everything that's in there. If you can read that thing cover to cover and understand everything in there, you're going to have your own YouTube channel, and you're going to be doing dissertations and stuff. It's really good information. So I highly recommend Advanced Engine Technology by Heinz Hensler. Heinz Hessler, Heisler, Heinz Hessler. Next thing I want to cover, for everybody that donated in Super Chats to help out, I Ain't No Punk, Todd. I delivered his money today. It turned out to be, because I told you that I would match it, so I gave him a total of $1,260. So all you guys that chipped in to help Todd out to get his stuff going, thank you very much for that. And he sends his love, and he's on here now. So, it's nice for the community to be able to help out somebody else in the community, and that's kind of what it's all about. So Todd, spend it well. And I got to see, I was up there visiting him today. And I got to see his the turbo on the LS, and we talked about different things that he can do to that, and hopefully steer him in the right direction. So it'll be very cool to see that go in. I think it's going in a truck. To see that thing going in a truck and running around, and he's with help from everybody, he's doing the right thing. So it should be very, very cool. The other thing that happened today is I talked to the gentleman that won the Nova. He's actually not too far away, 30 or 35 or 40 miles or something away. And so that will be nice. We're going to arrange to have him come pick it up. When he does, I'll obviously do either a live feed for the pickup, or I'll do a video on it. But we talked for quite a while on the phone today, because we went down rabbit holes on a number of the motors that he has. And I'm not going to go over them right now, because he's not sure which one he wants to surprise people with in the Nova, which is super awesome. But he does have some very, very good other guys' selections that he said he would let me run. So I can take those and put them on the dyno and run them, which they're all the ones that we discussed are motors that I've never run before. So it's just awesome. And some of them bring back lots of good memories for me, because some of them are from vehicles that I've had that I haven't ever run those particular engines on the engine dyno. I've done stuff on the chassis dyno and just out on the street, because before I was doing dyno testing, I was still modifying cars. We were putting, camshafts and carburetors and those kinds of things on all these different cars. I just didn't have a way to verify it. So this will be very cool. So this will work out good. And this is what again, just like with Todd, this is what the community is all about. You You meet somebody, just we randomly drew the guy's name after going through this sequence of random numbers, and you draw the guy's name, and it turns out that he has lots of cool stuff that's going to help me, and he's going to get a car, and it's going to help him, and so it's the circle of life. And I would imagine not just with him, but whoever it went to would have similar kinds of stories and similar kinds of opportunities, and would be a cool person, and is a car guy, and all that would work out. And that's the thing about reaching out to these people, is that you get to meet them as people. And that's something I highly recommend. So before we judge somebody about something that they like or dislike, meet them and talk to them. Chances are, especially if they're a car guy or gal, that you guys are going to have lots more in common than you don't, and you'll probably bond. You should always stop and have a drink with somebody and get to know them, and then when you do, then you can like them or dislike them, but not before that. So I highly recommend that. So that will be very cool. So I'm excited about getting the Nova, because whatever goes in it, and I'm pretty certain that he's going to fulfill his destiny of putting some kind of engine or motor in there and making it spin the tires and do a smoky burnout and stuff. So that will be awesome. And I'm also very happy that it may or may not be something unique, which just adds a little bit of spice. It's a little cherry on top. But the very cool thing is, since he lives close enough, I can go do other videos with him on that car, on the buildup or things he's doing. We can try different things. Maybe we can do some chassis dyno testing with it. Maybe we can, if he can take it to a local drag strip, whatever. All of those things are possibilities now that I know that it's not too far away. So you guys can see updates on it, and I can I can live vicariously through him as he's doing stuff to the Nova, which will be very, very cool. If you guys saw the thumbnail that I put up, that was the giant stack of carb spacers that I ran. I ran it on a single plane manifold on the 5.3 liter L33, the aluminum junkyard motor with cams in it. We ran a couple of different cams in it already. And we ran all of those spacers just because I wanted to stack them all. I had done the gigantic super mega Ritchie spacer, and I had also done these, and because we did the super mega deal, I hadn't run a test or done a video on what happened when we just started stacking these spacers up. And I'm going to, so we'll be able to talk about the results. But basically, given what happened with the 3 foot, I guess, tall carb spacer that we ran, and didn't really see much of a change in power, it's kind of predictable maybe what would happen with something that's shorter than that. And given what happened with a spacer and then no spacer on the single plane manifold, and then having lots of spacer there, it's all kind of predictable. But that doesn't stop the test from being cool, and you got to try it. I mean, I had to go to the hardware store and get all thread so that I can have enough room to stack all that stuff. And it's a lot easier to do it that way than trying to run a bolt through it and having the bolt be the right length for some mismatched combination of spacer and no spacer. But having all thread in there, then you can just slide everything on there, and it lines up, and it's easy to work with. You just have a whole bunch, like in our case, we had a whole bunch extra in terms of the all thread, and so you can take about a week to spin the nut down there onto the carburetor. But it all worked out very well. And it also, like I said, while I was testing that, in addition to the video that I have coming up comparing the Truck Norris cam from Brian Tooley and the Sloppy Stage 2 cam on the blower, I also have that same test carbureted. So we know we know they're both EFI cams. We also know that they're both turbo cams. We're going to find out if they're both blower cams. And then right after that, we'll find out if they're both carburetor cams. So what do you guys think? Do you think that they're all of those things? If you've been watching this channel for long enough, you should know the answer to that. I wish somebody would have me on their podcast or something to try to convince me that every cam is not a turbo cam. I wish somebody would do that. That would be awesome. Have a remote carb mount. Okay, so let's see. And that's what I have going on. So we have lots, and obviously I'm also engaged in movie. So a lot of stuff. I have if you're on here tonight, the gentleman that bought the 3800 ported heads, not the ones that Turbo Monza is doing. And Turbo Monza, if you're here tonight, let me know if I need to send you money so that we can get the bigger valves and get the head porting finished so that I can run that test. But the previous set of ported heads, I sold those. And what I did today, for some reason, I decided that they're iron heads, so they're fairly heavy. They're only V6 heads, so they're not super heavy. They're not like iron big block Chevy head kind of heavy, but it didn't really have a good cylinder head box. If you get buy cylinder heads from Edelbrock or Trick Flow or Airflow Research or whatever, and you get a good cylinder head box. I didn't have any of those to ship the heads out, so I decided, well, and I don't have any boxes. I don't know if I could just cut and tape boxes together to work with a cylinder head. You need something substantial. So I built something substantial. I built a wooden cage, basically a crate for the heads. So now I'm probably going to pay the price when it comes to shipping. But the head is bolted down to this exoskeleton, and they're going to get shipped out that way. Once you get going on it, you're like, okay, I'm going to bolt that to a piece of wood, and then I'll attach this piece of wood, and I'll frame it, and then I can put cardboard around it, and then it'll look like a box, except it will be wood, and all of that happens really fast in your mind. And then when you're out with the saw and the drill and the measuring tape and then measuring again and then cutting again and measuring again and doing all that, it's a little bit more involved. But lucky for me, I had recently taken apart the tree fort out in the backyard, which still upsets me. So many memories. But it left me with a surplus of 2x4s and 4x4s and all sorts of stuff. So I had the supplies, and I just had to drag out the saw and measure and go to work on it. But it all worked out good. So those will go, and I'm fairly confident that they'll be safe in their shipping. I don't know, it'd be hard to hurt, I guess, an iron head anyway, unless you really dropped it off somewhere. Dan, I see you're up there too. I wanted to mention I've been going through all my books, and I'm absolutely surprised at how many Porsche books I have. I've owned 2 Porsches in my life. One of them a 924, the other one 1972 911T that ran up until it didn't run all the way home. I bought it and drove it home, and as I was driving it home, I know the guy I bought it from knew that had a rod knock, and drove it home, and it broke on the way home. So those are the Porsches I had. The 924 ran flawlessly. It even got a pretty paint job. I painted it yellow. It was bright. What it needed was another 200 horsepower. It would have been a lot of fun. But the car handled good. It was just not very fast. But it was a great car, and we drove it everywhere, and it worked really well. Like I said, I wish that I would have turbocharged it. If I had one now, that's almost certainly what I would do to that. But I have all these Porsche books, and it surprised me, having only owned ever 2 of them. I must have 15 of them on various kinds of Porsche stuff. Although they do have a rich racing history. So let's see what you guys got going on. 4-piston big reds with dual master cylinders with a balance bar. Oh, because you guys are talking about brakes. Got to get the lobster claws. Got to get the Brembos. Richard, 302 with shorty open headers. Can it burn exhaust valves? No. Just seen a kid with one in a 99 BMW 318 at Walmart. It was cool, but don't see it living long. Shorty open headers, I think you'll be fine. I don't know that I would run it. And again, I don't know if that's a wives' tale or not, if you run it without headers on it. I don't know. I've been told over and over again that that's what happens. Oh, it'll cool off too fast, and you'll I don't know how you could burn a valve. I thought it would warp or something because it gets hot and then gets cooled too fast. Is what I thought I was told. I've never seen that happen. I've never run a motor on the dyno. We've run them for short periods of time with no headers on them, but I've never run one at wide open throttle like that. Dan, I hope you're not using the pancake manifold on your 930. Richard, did you? I did. Todd, I did find the key, so I can send it out to you. I mean, find it. It was up on the thing. Do you want me to send it out to today, or will you be there? I just put an LS1 and a 964. Nice. Yeah, 2,640 pounds is a fun car. So you're at a machine shop, Admiral? Hey guys, what do I need for E85 on an '04 Buick Regal? Just a fuel pump and sensors? An '04? Is it a 3800 Series 2 in that '04? You're going to need to tune it. One of my employees got a 971 911 for helping an old man move. I need some work though. Will you do an oil pump test? Actually, I planned doing that about 4 or 5 years ago. I just wanted to measure power consumption, basically doing a standard volume and a high volume and a high pressure and yada yada on an LS. That's been done on a small block Chevy. The guys at West Tech, I think that they did a small block Chevy. I'm pretty sure they did. And they may have also done a Mopar one, if I remember right. But I'd like to see what the power consumption is. I don't know about a tuner in the Bay Area. I'm not up on tuners. Jesse, they don't do diesels at West Tech anymore. Richard, race car vehicle dynamics. I have that. Yeah. And no pancakes. Yeah, those are not good. Oh, a Carrera 3.2. That's a good intake design. Yeah, if you want to come get it tonight, Todd, you could. '82 millimeter drive-by-wire throttle body. Oh, cool. Oh, we do need a poll for tonight, right? I was going to do one about puppies. Okay, here is the poll for tonight. It's all about diesels. Does runner length change the power output of a turbo diesel application? That's our poll. Picked up the bottom end. How do I get rid of my governor without emissions on my 04 1500? Would a 93 octane tune be better than stock? I've heard the bully dog tuners and flash tuners are good. I don't know anything about you doing emissions stuff on there. I only test on the engine dyno. Todd, I'm on doing a live feed, so you'll get here. Well, maybe you might get here. I might still be on though. I can leave it outside, I guess. So it'd be better if you left in a while. The intake design of that Carrera, or that 3.2 Carrera, is actually pretty good. Do you know of any external reluctor wheels? Yeah, Holly has, and MSD has stuff for those. Do you have any videos about fuel system setup for an LS? No, I mean, like in the car, I don't have fuel pumps because we have a really big pump on the dyno. We have a big Aeromotive um, uh, brushless pump on the engine dyno, and we also have one of their regulators, so we have an endless fuel supply for what we're doing. The LS engine oil pressure power consumption test should be easy because you just need to change the spring. That's one way to do it, yeah. Look up Island Works Sweden on YouTube for best 964 race car build. What's the best place to start learning HP tuners? I just ordered hardware, but there should be a lot of HP tuners stuff online. I have to put all my stuff outside away. Yeah. So 745 would be fine. Can we contact you about purchasing an LS tune? I don't have any. I'm not a tuner. Does Kennedy have adapters? I know they have lots of stuff for VWs. James, if that was for me, I don't. My setup in my vehicle is stock. It has a stock pump, stock lines, stock injectors, stock regulator, all of that because the motor's all stock. Oh yeah, Go Rope Garage. I forgot about that. Yeah, he's got a bunch of stuff. And then if you want to get tunes for that, for the factory ECU, Matt has a whole bunch of them. Matt over at Sloppy. Gonna do a 5.3 swap in my 98 4.3 5-speed truck. Want to put a cam in. The chop still makes good low end. It's a 308. So then put a truck Norris cam in. Look up Texas Performance for 911 LS kits. Do not use Renegade hybrids. Do you go richer on the air fuel ratio as boost goes up? I don't. Even at whether it's at 6 or 7 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever, right in the 11s, 11 and a half, or you might make it a little bit richer than that at real high boost. But that's because we can get away with a lot of stuff on the engine dyno that you can't get away with in the car. If you're packing books, do you have one on not the probe, Todd? You're talking about the Focus. Do you ever build crazy stuff like the Big Bang motors? I mean, where we did 1,500 horsepower with a stock bottom end. Would the GT500 supercharger produce the same boost on an LS as it would on the Coyote, the same pulley? Well, as always, we have to dissect that question because all LSs are not the same. You have 4.8s, you have LS7s, so you have 4.8s and 7 liters, and then you have every range of displacement in between there, and then not just displacement, which for me doesn't make nearly as much of a difference as the power output of this motor that you're starting with. So if you're and Coyotes would be the same thing. Are you starting with a 2011? Are you starting with a 2020? Those are different motors to start out with. And are you starting out with a stock one or a modified one? So the amount of boost that the blower provides is going to be a function of the power output of the NA motor that you're applying it to. 308 gear is not friendly to a choppy cam. I'd go up a step or two depending on tire size. Yeah, it's for the Focus. I don't if I had a Focus book, it would have been packed already. I might only have one of the ones that I have that's mine. I don't think I have any spare ones, but I'll take a look and see. $112 horsepower turbo sprints. That's good. That's also good. That's 112 of the tire. The highest I got was 174, I think. That was with a compound deal, and that was really I'm really surprised it didn't blow up with trying to do vane meters and clicks and adjustable fuel pressure regulators and 1.5 and 2-to-1 rising rate regulators and booster pumps on the fuel pump. And it was just all old school stuff. What should I expect output numbers from a 462 valve cams 2 with a Vortec V2? I should have Vortec 2 valve videos up on the channel already, so you can kind of see. 24 hours of Lemons, June 4th, 5. Come run with us. I've run Lemons races before. I ran Motorola Cup endurance. I've also run I think 2 24 hours of Lemons races before. We're up at Thunder Hill. Richard, my rotating assembly is a 400 journal, 420 cubic inch, 4340 steel Eagle crank, H-beam rods, JE pistons. They're rated at 850 horsepower. Wire stock 5.3 is able to handle 1,000 horsepower, but you can't. Larry, you can. Your steel connecting rod is not going to break at 800 horsepower. One of my buddies has a Celine for Focus, had a nice body kit and nitrous from the factory. I drove those. As a matter of fact, I drove. So here I'm going to one up everybody. I drove the very first one that they did, that Celine did of that Focus, with Steve Celine in the passenger seat, because we went down for the introduction of that car and other cars that he had down in Irvine, and went down to that, and then he took us to lunch, and so we drove that car and got to run a nitrous Focus. I think in the Focus book that I did, we didn't use that car, but I think I did nitrous testing on the Focus as well. Uh-oh. Rolled a Ford Escort 3 times around Lemons and punctured a spleen. That's not good. Spleens are pretty important. If you want to bring the boost down on the TVS, that's pretty easy to do. Just put more motor under it or slow the blower down. I had, and maybe that's why Steve took a liking to me. I had the Celine body kit on my 5-liter LX for a long time. It was a notch, and I like the notches better than I like the hatches. But the hatch, in retrospect, the hatch would have been better, since I was kind of a top speed guy. Would have been better, but I just like the hatch better. We rocked us. Marcus, what kind of car is that you guys are running in the Lemons race? Have 93 GT myself. Still like the notch better. Yeah, I'm a notch guy. Although, and I had a 65 Mustang GT, 4-speed, pony interior, 410 or 411 gear, 4-speed. It was a good car. And it even had the Shelby mods done to the Hypo 289 because it was original Hypo motor. But it was a notch. And in that year, I would much rather have had a fastback like a Shelby. It would have been, because then I would have, well, I don't know if I would have done that particular car. If I would have had a Hypo 289 that was that wasn't a notch, I think I probably would have kept that car. JB, yeah, a lot of those turbo diesels are just a big common plenum. What's the best single plane intake for fuel distribution for a small block Ford? I don't know. I haven't tested all of them with just distribution in mind. But I can tell you that the single plane intake manifolds, all of them you will have a difference in distribution in the 4 outer runners than you do in the 4 inner runners. And then the distribution is going to vary with RPM. Like the lean ones and the rich ones are going to change as you change RPM. Might be as good as my 355 at 279s in converter. Tercel with a 2 ZZGE and a Miata. Miatas are handled really nice. An LSE 36. That's probably pretty fast, I would imagine. Richard, I'm building an intake manifold for a 2-valve 08 Navigator engine. Isn't the Navigator engine a 4-valve manifold you built? What did you find to be the best runner length? I don't remember. And there's no best runner length because they have different power curves. You'd have to decide which one of those power curves that you like the best, because there's a trade-off inherent in no matter which one you pick. Fixing fuel distribution is pretty easy. It's not easy on a carbureted intake manifold. And it's really hard on a carbureted manifold when you have 4 long and 4 short runners on a carbureted one with a carburetor. How well do slant 6 Miatas handle? I think atrocious. With handling that could best be described as diabolical. Do some tests on the 8.1 liter LS. There's no 8.1 liter LS. There's an 8.1 liter big block, but that's not part of the LS family. And I already have videos up on it. And I'm going to be doing more stuff on it. I already ran a turbo on it. We ran, what else? I don't know. We ran it NA. So what are people saying? Does anybody know, has Gail Banks ever tested that? Has they ever tested runner length on a diesel application? Because I know I never have. And I remember I had a Cummins turbo diesel truck, a big dually, and I remember turning the boost up on it. And all we did was, you just basically put a restrictor in the signal for the wastegate, and it turned the boost up. I mean, it turned it up, I don't know, 4 or 5 pounds or something. And I remember it changed the power almost nothing. And I'm like, but we just went up like 4 or 5 pounds of boost. It should be making a lot of more power. It's because we didn't add any more fuel. And that's what you have to do. That's really the key. A TVS is not diabolical. A slant 6 in the Miata handling is diabolical. You should run the 8.1 and see how much boost and power can make before failure. 4.3 liter diesel thing in the front wheel drive cars. Gale tests everything. Gale does do a lot of testing. He's definitely done a lot, but has he tested specifically intake runner length on a diesel application that anybody's seen? Richard, is $750 a good price for a 5.2 liter from the yard? Like a 5.2, a 318, like a Magnum? That seems high for a Magnum. I don't see how runner length would change the power curve. Airflow is airflow, except it's not. That's why we read all these SAE papers and why we read this, because reflective waves change the power output. A 750 seems like a lot for a Magnum. They wouldn't be that much at the wrecking yard that we go to, at the one down by West Tech. Even a fully dressed one shouldn't be that much. I think that the well, let's see what a see. We'll take a look here. So I want to say that they're more like 400 or 500 probably. LKQ engine prices. Please select your vehicle. So that would be a, what year is that? What year is that? 318? Oh, it doesn't say. We're gonna say it's a, I don't know, 99. Dodge. Select model. 1500 series pickup. Engine assembly. Select option. 5.2 liter. And find parts. I'm not showing one, but I know they have 100 of them. Their prices are $350, $400, $450. Oh, that was $1,400. What is that one? 2003 Cadillac Escalade, 5.3 liter. Oh, that's in West Sacramento. That's why. Yeah, I think it would be less than that. I've been over. I've talked to Gale a couple of times. I've been over to his place, and he's given me the the walkthrough and the tour, and it's great stuff. I mean, that guy's done so much. I have his books. I've read all the stuff. Richard, how much power am I losing by running the stock mass airflow sensor on my 420 cubic inch L98 at 7,300? A significant amount. Here's a good thing, Larry. Take and run a vacuum test between your mass air meter and the engine and see what it is. It's probably going to be a lot. 92 and up is a Magnum, yeah. I haven't seen the new motor going in the 2022 Escalades. Would a 5.3 have a hard time spooling an 80 millimeter billet? I don't know which one that is, but we've run S480s with a 5.3 a lot, and it still works. Thinking about the GM Performance ASA cam. Lower lift to keep wear down for a daily driver. Need choppy idle. Some street manners. Yep, that'll work. I want a high compression stroker, my 944. Rear hatch and rear facing jump seats to give ride-alongs at track days. A 5.3 will spool an S480, so that's not a problem. The question is, do you want to make the power that 80 millimeter turbo makes? I'm running a math on my supercharged LS. It's a card. Yeah, if it's a card style and stuck in a 4-inch pipe, then it's retuned. That works well. You just need to have a lot more airflow. He's talking about a factory L98 mass air meter, I think, which is not great. 69% are saying that runner length changes the power output of diesel application. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that, so I'm kind of asking you guys. On a 462 valve, what's the normal drivetrain loss in percentage? It's not a strict percentage because it's going to depend on what transmission you have and what rear end you have and what tire size you have and wheel size and weight and all of that. So I have exhaust manifold, gasket, and a ring kit and baby turbo on the way for my 4.9 liter 300. Cool. That should be good. Let us know when you run that thing. Yuri, think of it as somewhere near 100 horsepower from the way that we run it on the engine dyno. But it's never a fixed percentage unless you could take that number and make it a percentage on the exact combination that you're running it in. It's a little easier to do with an all stock combination because then there's lots of those. But anybody that has a different combination, it's going to be their combination. Richard, how well do you think my LQ4 with a sloppy stage 2 would do with twin 76s? It depends on which 76s you're doing. If you're doing like twin S475 kind of things that like 2000 horsepower with a turbo, you got to ask yourself if you need that much turbo. If you're talking about the little 76 millimeter turbos that CX Racing sells, that's going to be more like 1400 or somewhere in there. So again, you should pick your turbos based on the power, your desired power output. Diesels love boost, and everyone knows boost does best with short manifolds. New GM LS 6.6 comparison to the 6.2 for power upgrades. The 6.6 is an LT motor. And are you talking about the 6.2 for a Ford or the 6.2 LS3 style? I'm running it on a bolt-on dyno. So if you're running it on an engine dyno, that's the way that we run it. There's no reason why a runner length would affect a diesel differently than a gas engine. And it's always at wide open throttle. See, Dan, you just saw an SAE paper on diesel engines, if people were paying attention. Although this one is on Helmholtz tube induction systems. See, this is how cool this stuff is. I'll show you a picture of what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's on an inline 6-cylinder because that's how you can do cool stuff. See, they have 2 individual plenums, one for each of the 3 cylinders, and then they have them joined to another common plenum, and then they have the turbo feeding that. Pretty slick stuff. Yep, they know what's going on. Michael just got back from a test and tune. How did it go? Were you testing or were you tuning? Were you doing both? Brian, how's the truck build going? It's working good. I put what I put in I don't know, 6 or 7 gallons of gas today too, so it's quite a bit. Tom, Richard, I have a 12-to-1 compression 434 LS that I'm assembling. Could you recommend a starter? Does anybody have any starter recommendations for him? We have 2 starters on the dyno, so it starts anything that's on there, but I don't know about for the street application. Are there any high torque mini starters or anything? I want to see a big displacement 4-cylinder board and stroke 2.3 liter. That one wouldn't be the one. The one that you'd want to do is the 4-liter 4-cylinder, the one that has the one that uses the 460 Ford head on it. Gail Banks claimed the stock latest gen Duramax diesel had like a 170-degree cam. I have his recent high performance cam video notification from YouTube to watch. Okay, cool. Let us know what happens tomorrow. I'm building my intercooler piping now. Have a neat trick that uses modified crimpers to press a bead roll into the tube. Works well. So it's a little bit of extra work to get it done, huh? Appreciate you, sir. Always. Yeah, Miami's in the house. Yuri, what's up, man? Full tilt 3-liter Merc Cruiser might be cool in an S10 ported OEM head, high compression cam and turbo. All that's good. Jeff Smith's in the house. Boost is best served as a dish, best served cold. Yes, it is definitely. Damon, I have a 305 small block Chevy build video up on the channel, so take a look. We ran trick flow heads on it, which are probably the best aftermarket head for that 305. Instead of buying 2 new smaller carbs and just buying 1 more 950 Holly for a tunnel ram on a 600 horsepower 496, would the bigger 950s lose power over 2 sets? So you want to put 2 950s on a 600 horsepower 496? It's kind of overkill, but it will still work. My 2-valve Briggs & Stratton with a Fox body smog pump detonated till I put an old MSD ignition system on with a boost retard. Oh yeah, the boost retards are cool. I think I might have one of those laying around. 4-cylinder Atlas. Yes, that's good. Richard, at what nitrous horsepower do you add ring gap? I don't have an absolute because I can't. You should put ring gap in it if you're running lots. If you're running a 75 shot or 100 shot, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're running a 300 shot, I would. In between there, probably a good idea. Having said that, I've run 300 shots without checking the ring gap, and I don't recommend it because it's a motor I didn't care about, and if it broke, it broke. I was okay with that. If it was in a car, I'd be pretty upset about it. Any experience or opinions with Big Block Mopar Edelbrock Victor heads? I have not run those. Have you ever dynoed a Pro Systems SV1 carburetor? I have not. Why don't you see long tube heads before the turbos on diesels, even performance-based all-around packaging? Long tube headers, you mean, on diesels? Have you done any tests between cheap eBay 1 or 2 throttle bodies compared to the much more expensive name brands? The thing that I can tell you about throttle bodies, like with the AccuFab stuff, his is better. The amount of work that he puts into his are better. The thing that I've seen with 102 millimeter throttle bodies, particularly on the LS stuff, the offshore ones, not from a flow standpoint and maybe not at a wide open throttle standpoint, but getting them to idle and getting the throttle not to stick when it returns. And when you, like, if you hold up a good throttle body to the light and you hold up one of those to the light, you can count how many fingers you have because it's got so much like bleed pass because the angle of the throttle when it closes is not right. It doesn't seal right. Those are the kind of problems that you run across, not necessarily a wide open throttle performance thing. Has anybody seen on the racing diesels? Do they run more elaborate exhaust systems on those? I can't imagine them just running a log style manifold, even on a diesel on something that they were trying to make a lot of power with. Tore the head off my 6262 K24E Nissan D21. That's a lot of stuff to get rid of bad head gasket. Now I'm about to torque the studs down on a fresh gasket. It's been a productive night. See, you're getting it done, man. Is the Atlas trans bolt pattern wise close to the LS? No, it takes an adapter to adapt it to either a small block or an LS. But those are available. We have one. One of the guys that was here gave it to me, and I can't remember. Somebody remind me what his name is. I think his name is Mark, but I can't remember the name of his company. He's up in Canada. That tells me that it's been too long for since I ran the Atlas motor. Yeah, the trans bolt pattern is different. It'll be really cool to see the Nova like running under its own power rather than being pushed around. Okay, we're going to close out our poll with 70% saying yes, that intake runner length does change the output of a turbo diesel application. Now I'm going to have to call Gail Banks and have them send me over some data. I didn't run an Atlas on propane. I went over to a guy's house that has one that he started on propane. How much time has passed since you ran the Buick 455? A long time. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff done too. I got a lot. Delivered the stuff up to Todd. I got was back in the back using the saw, cutting stuff up, actually what I was doing was I was repurposing stuff that I did when I tore down the tree fort. I was repurposing the top of it and the bottom layer because it was 2 stories. So the floor and ceiling and the floor, I'm going to reuse those for shelving for my storage area, which is in dire need of organization. Yeah, there's a 4-liter Mercury Marine engine. I think it's 4 liters, something like that. Might be 3 something. That uses a 460 Ford head. The Nova is doing a one-legged burnout, or is he going to do a Lincoln posse? He's not going to change the rear end before he does the burnout. I mean, there's no sense in doing that because he's on the clock as soon as he picks the thing up. And maybe it has a posse already. It doesn't. Tom's out. Have you checked the 455 for water on the cylinders lately? It's not it's not back together. Come on, Cameron, get that like button going. 1 more minute. 1 minute warning. Remember, get this book, Advanced Engine Technology, Heinz Hessler. Good stuff. Yeah, the big 455 is coming back. It's going to come back in stage 1 as a stage 1 455. Yeah, it's not a 2.3 liter. It's bigger than that. Daniel, what was your secret? Do you see any benefit from the folks that made a flat plane crank for the LS? I don't know what the benefit would be other than noise quality. It might sound cool. Happy to help, Getaway. Stage 1 455 equals boat anchor. Scott, obviously you haven't read your history. That's the fastest muscle car ever. A stage 1 GS 455 Buick. Just crushing Hemis and eating LS6s for lunch. 3.7 liter, that's what it is. Okay. That's close enough to 4 liters. And it will take not just a factory 460 head, it will take like a Super Cobra jet or something really good. No, not an Oldsmobile 455, a Buick stage 1, a Regal GS. Dan, Race Car Engineering is the one that's $75 a copy. I think I have one issue of that. I think that's all I could ever afford in my life. But it's really good stuff, though. Yep. Race Car Engineering is that's the stuff. If you want to be on the cutting edge of stuff, that's pretty good. Okay, guys, I gotta get going. I thank you all for showing up. I'll get back to work on my on my video comparing the truck Norris cam, the sloppy stage 2 on a blower to see if they're blower cams. They are. Pretty much they are. Because they all are. Everything's a blower cam. Everything's a carburetor cam. Everything's an EFI cam, and everything, obviously, as we know, is a turbo cam. Even the other guys are turbo cams. All right, guys, I will see you all tomorrow. Boom.